Welcome back to the 4AO experience. Today, we're breaking down a preview of this Cincinnati game. Sam Levitt's out. We got a lot of question marks about this team after an amazing win against Utah. But you can't celebrate for too long because the college football season moves fast. So, Trev, what are you seeing in this matchup?
I'm seeing a flight to the Midwest. That's what I'm seeing.
A 9 a.m. start. That is disgusting.
Crazy,
I can't believe whoever said that is evil, dude. And they want Arizona State to suffer because that's brutal, man.
Yeah, because just think of game setup, right? You got to get on the field 3 hours before game time. So it's
6
noon.
a.m.
It's noon over there, right? No,
Yeah.
it's actually 9 a.m. when they start setting up. And so their body is going to be warming up at 6 a.m. Arizona time, getting ready for a game. That's going to be pretty crazy.
And honestly, if we've seen anything from the Big Ten, it's students traveling across the country does not bode well from the program. It doesn't matter who's playing. It could be SC, and they're still going to suffer from it. So Arizona State is looking a little shaky, and with the announcement that Sam Levitt's out for this one.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off the quarterback controversy, Sorsby is an original Big Ten quarterback. Previously at IU, went 3-9 on the season. So I'm not saying that he was able to perform or anything. I'm just saying he is used to this Midwest early game schedule. It's kind of like a big noon for them, just in his way, just in the Big 12. So no big noon Saturday for the Bearcats versus the Sun Devils, but a lot of Big 12 implications as both of these teams are 2-1 in the standings. Whoever wins this game will at least control their own destiny in being in the top quarter of the Big 12. How important do you see a potential win in this?
Yeah, so the Sun Devils are 1-1 in Big 12 play so far. Lost to the Red Raiders and a W against Utah. Awesome W.
And then Kansas.
Oh, sorry, Kansas. They're 2-1.
Yeah,
I apologize. They're 2-1. Okay, and going 3-1 compared to 2-2, I believe is absolutely massive for this team.
Yes.
Look, we've talked about it. Okay, we started 3-0. We head to Lubbock. So much momentum, and that momentum is dashed. Okay, and we roll off back-to-back wins. Kansas, Utah.
Great home wins.
Great home wins. Got the fans involved. Dillingham is on the field partying with the students. An all-time great Arizona State moment. Okay, so much momentum. Levitt's announced to be out for this one, and this could get rid of all the momentum that we have spent. Now 2 games, not too long, but 2 games, 2 Big 12 games with massive implications building up. So a loss here is absolutely, I think, demoralizing.
Yeah.
Just from a fan perspective, right? Guys who aren't locked into the team, like us and
the
like
buy-in.
you.
Yep.
The buy-in isn't exactly, it's not where it could be yet.
Yeah.
Where ASU and Arizona sports fans in general
You got
are
to
used
see
to
a
getting
number.
their hearts
You
broken.
got to see a number in front of that icon, in front of that name, right? We got to see a ranking before there's an official buy-in.
And some would argue that maybe they should be ranked. Maybe the armed forces teams don't really have that many quality wins.
Or even Michigan.
Or Michigan is a 4-2 team ranked after losing to Washington is kind of disgusting to me.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get into all that. This is strictly ASU.
But hey, we got 39 votes in the AP.
Yeah.
So that means we're knocking on the door.
And
I don't feel bad because they haven't put Tech in the rankings as well.
No, and Tech, if any team left off, even the top 3 out of the poll, the Red Raiders are left off. But let's break down this running back matchup here in this one. We have Cam Skattebo against Corey Keimer. Pretty comparable in terms of yards per carry, but not comparable in anything else. 133 carries for Skattebo, 84 for Keimer, 773 yards. You're looking at one of the top 10 favorites for Heisman, and Skattebo, and Keimer is just your average running back, right? 496, but 5.9 yards per carry for Keimer is absolutely fantastic. Corey Kiner. 5.8 for Skattebo, 8 touchdowns for Skattebo, and 2 for Kiner. But
There's a difference in carries, There's a huge imbalance right there.
There is, and Skattebo also brings a rushing element to his game that Kiner doesn't exactly bring. Let's look at his rushing stats on the year. He has only 5 receptions for 46 yards.
Yep.
But that was a similar situation coming into the Kansas game, and ASU's defense kind of let Neal get a couple of them there. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that Cincinnati tries to exploit. Is our flats are a little lacking. This has been a great defense this year, but the flats, if there's one thing that they need to lock down a little bit better at, it is the flats.
So here's the context with Skattebo. Right now he is your 5th ranked rusher in the entire nation, and as a running back, he is the 3rd highest receiving back in the nation. So being top 5 in both of your stats, very impressive stuff. I would just say this Big 12 conference has hosted some amazing talent from the bell cow position. Corey Kiner is your bell cow. He would be doing the same thing that Skattebo would be doing if he was on our team. Eye test wise, I love Corey Kiner. I put him in the same tier as Tosh Brooks and RJ Harvey because they're patient, unique runners that can really have good gap integrity, hit that gap with aggressiveness, and they just run. They run aggressive. They run hard. What I like about Cincinnati is that they do have really good trenches play. Within their offensive line, they have highly rated NFL potential guards. I even think that in the college football 25 game, that one of their guards is an 86 overall and the other one is an 88. So to have 2 interior O-linemen who are just really skillful, can't wait to see what our D-line can do. Sorsby has been around the college football, so we don't know if blitzes really will be effective against him, but I think we're going to have to show that aggressiveness to overcompensate for maybe a slower offense this week. But how are we feeling in terms of rushing approach against Cincinnati? I mean, this is a great segue to announce who our starting quarterback will be as well.
Ooh, the starting quarterback for the game is Jeffrey Simmons, dude. Jeffrey Sims.
No way.
He is our starting quarterback.
Previous transfer from Nebraska and Georgia Tech. He served 2 years as the starter for Georgia Tech and then transferred to Nebraska and now is a Sun Devil. But what do you got for me?
Yeah, so this graphic's a little bit funny, but 176 yards for Levitt last game, only 28 for Sims. Once again,
and that was total yards.
That was total yards.
His stats. That was the offensive yardage.
And he was in for 3 drives. Got that touchdown. Was really nice to see him get that touchdown. Good. I think a lot of Arizona State fans would have loved if, that was the only touchdown he had to score for them this season. But guess what? They're not in that position. So Arizona State stuck with Jeff Sims, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to see. So let's break down.
Here's what's really interesting, okay? So I watched the presser today with Dillingham, and they said that with it being a Friday night game, they spent all of Saturday and Sunday game planning against Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And he really wanted to emphasize that they weren't changing anything about the game plan with the announcement of Jeff Sims as the starter. That is basically an inference that there really isn't viewed as a huge difference in terms of play style, in terms of execution. Maybe you're a lot more aware of the athleticism of Jeff Sims. You want to cater to some of his advantageous skill sets. But at the end of the day, we're going to watch ASU football the same way we've been watching it the last 6 weeks. So we need to see a consistent running game. We need to fulfill our identity, and we need to feed off the run, have effective play action, and make great decisions. So how do you feel about Jeff Sims in our classic ASU game plan of running that ball and being a good decision maker? Do you see a potential turnover this Saturday?
I do see a potential turnover, and Levitt's done a decent job at limiting turnovers. Only 4 interceptions.
Because honestly, those aren't even his fault.
Most of them aren't his fault.
Some of them are dropped passes. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are an overthrow. Honestly, one of them was Cade Briggs not making his block. He got knocked out.
Yeah.
One of them is Jordan Tyson dropping a touchdown.
In the Kansas game.
Yep. So the other two is him overthrowing Mark Keston a little bit. And then he had a silly one against Utah.
Yeah.
And what was that? A deflection?
Possibly.
This previous Saturday it was a this previous Friday it was a deflection, I think.
Yeah, so
because it was a fluky interception against the Utah game.
Yeah, so Levitt's done an awesome job of keeping care of the football.
Yep.
Not turning it over, not putting it in harm's way. Especially most of his turnovers have come in non-crucial points of the game. Right, that Kansas one is the closest.
Even if they do happen, he responds.
Yeah, he responds. That's something we'll be looking at with Jeff Sims. Now, Skattebo, our man, has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And I like how Jordan Tyson has kind of grown as this season's gone on.
He is wide receiver 1.
You've seen him, you have seen him blossom into that.
He had 84 yards last week.
Yeah, he's been really good for the Sun Devils, and so I like Jeff Sims having an outlet guy to him. Skattebo is pretty much always open as a receiving threat.
And great tight end play.
Not even just in the Big 12, but he's one of the best running back receiving threats in all of college football this year. He's been absolutely fantastic. Mateer, I would like to see them get the tight ends a little bit more involved.
This is actually Kaman's revenge game.
Yes.
Previously from Cincinnati last year.
Yeah, so I want to see a little bit more of a friendlier scheme for Sims. Levitt being a redshirt freshman, the scheme is already pretty friendly, right?
Yeah.
They ask him to throw over the middle just a few times per game, and he's done a really good job at doing that so far. So Sims, make those passes over the middle of the field, and then hand the damn ball off to Cam Skattebo, and that's kind of all you got to do to secure.
And that's
a win.
what we kind of saw when he was in those 2 drives in the first half on Friday. We saw a lot of scheme-friendly plays where they were predominantly dump off, good play action, scheme your skill players open, and then just give the ball to them on a short pass.
Yeah.
What I really can't wait to capitalize on is when Cincinnati stacks the box, expecting a Skattebo run, and then Sims is right there to use his legs to read the edge rusher and to potentially break it to the outside on a read option. Are you looking forward? Do you see a Jeff Sims having 50-plus rushing this Saturday?
Yes, I could see it. I definitely think a Sims rushing touchdown is in the cards, similar to what we saw against Utah. If you're a gambling man, I'd say definitely put some money on a Sims rushing touchdown, not a Sims throwing touchdown. Don't know about that. Just kidding.
We might. What are over/under 15 pass attempts?
Over.
You think?
I would actually maybe slightly under, because Levitt in the Utah game, how many do you have? 18?
He had 18 and was injured for the entire second quarter.
Yeah, so, but they're not gonna run. They're not gonna throw it as much with Sims. Under, and then it's gonna be on Skattebo. Carlos Brooks was back last game, right?
Yes.
And a little bit of Raleek Brown. He didn't really make it in. You guys know how I love Raleek Brown, but hopefully he gets involved a little bit. Sims with his legs. I think it's going to be all about running the football, giving Sims some time to
Sims has at least 8 carries.
Yeah, he has to. Whether it's scripted or non-scripted, he's going to get out of the pocket. He is a threat with his legs. But let's move on to Sorsby. He's been an okay quarterback this year.
Yeah,
right?
I would say he's a top half Big 12.
Yeah, 1,700 yards, 66% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions.
And 4 rushing.
4 rushing touchdowns.
17-3.
So now here's the real question. Arizona State got back to its turnover ways with the defense against Utah. I was saying I thought it'd be a pretty clean game from Utah. I was absolutely wrong. Don't take any advice from me ever again. Just kidding. So, what's going to move first? Is Sorsby going to start turning the ball over, or is ASU going to stop getting turnovers?
So, eye tests. I know on paper Sorsby looks really good, but eye test from what I've seen with this Cincinnati team, and I've watched him a lot. I watched him against UCF. I watched him against Tech. I know Sorsby. This guy is a good decision maker, but he's not a great decision maker. At times, their offense is at fault to the limited play of Sorsby, to his limited decision making. Right now, I feel like our defense, coached by Brian Ward, is in a immaculate position to just be themselves. Because pretty much they've shown on tape that they can consistently create turnovers. The point differential within our team is amazing. We're 18th in the entire country on point differential right now, which just means that we're keeping our opponent's score lower than how much we are scoring, which is a testament to how good your defense is playing, keeping everything, and also having good scoring defense, and then also producing on the offensive side of the ball. I really think that Sorsby play will factor into how well our quarterback play is. So I don't see him ever going QB versus QB trying to match the opponent and outperform the opponent. He usually becomes the more mid quarterback by the end of the game. And you start to see, okay, this is why Cincinnati isn't good, because Sorsby kind of deteriorates a little bit. But if they're playing with a lead, if they're having good defense, Sorsby is good. He's in the pocket. He's playing good football.
Yeah.
Like, I loved him. They had a really great game against Pittsburgh. They let out the lead within the last 4 minutes of that game, but Sorsby was playing good ball. Against Texas Tech, he was playing good ball. He fed Xavier Henderson, his wide receiver 1, to 127 yards on Tech. Like, this is a great defense to scheme up your wide receiver 1. So I got to give Sorsby the credit in which I feel like he produces and he doesn't play at his faults of being turnover happy. Like, he's what Alan Bowman wants to be, but without the turnovers. Because they both produce, they both have amazing offensive weapons, they get the ball to their playmakers, they make great decisions, but they don't. But the difference with Sorsby is he's not losing the game because of his inefficiencies and inconsistencies. They're losing the game because as a whole they're not executing as a team. And I don't think he is the quarterback you win because of. He is the quarterback you win with.
Okay, I like that, and I think that's similar to what Levitt brings a little bit.
Yeah.
Levitt hasn't really won us very much. I would say he won us the Texas State game.
Yep.
But other than that,
I compare Levitt, like I said, to Sam Darnold.
Okay.
I really think he's the Sam Darnold of this team, where he's just a great leader.
You're talking about Vikings this year, Sam Darnold.
Yep, correct. Oh, yeah, you know. Every other Sam Darnold's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But this year, Sam Darnold has stepped up to be a good decision maker, to be the situational leader, because they are playing with leads. They're playing with really good football. He's a situational leader because he's probably not the leader if you're playing bad football. Like, no one's really going to listen to him and buy into his vocal. But if you're winning, you have the lead, you're going to buy into him as the captain because he's the quarterback, he's playing good football. And that's what you do as a football team. You gravitate towards a leader like that. And Sam Levitt's doing the same thing. They're all bought into him. He's playing good football. He's not like he's not losing them games, and it's not like he's being very inconsistent either, you know?
Yeah, I think for Arizona State, the buy-in actually starts with Kenny Dillingham. I think Kenny Dillingham is bought into Levitt, and I think these guys will buy whatever Dillingham sells to them, and so therefore they're bought into Levitt. Okay, and I think if he shows similar buy-in to a Jeff Sims in practice this week, which I have no doubt, Dillingham is one of the best motivators of men I've seen in a long time in college football. He brings a youthful energy, and he's really different than most coaches you'll see out there. And I think if he's bought into Sims, this team is going to come out with a lot of confidence. They're playing in an early 9 a.m. start.
He's very excited to see Sims ball.
Yeah.
Very excited. Because, look, he's a journeyman.
Yeah.
This is the exact opportunity Sims wants because he's going to be able to put some tape out there.
Yeah, exactly. And if we look at common opponents here for Cincinnati and Arizona State, they only have one so far this season, and it's Texas Tech. As you remember, Arizona State lost 30-22, and an offensive shootout happened in Lubbock for Cincinnati, 44-41 loss. Over the course of the year, Cincinnati's defense has been pretty solid, but they also haven't really had a hard schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, Towson's not anything crazy. Miami is fine. Houston, They shut them out, which is unbelievable. But Houston's been terrible, but actually kind of a little bit better these last couple of weeks.
I think they've just adjusted. They looked really good against TCU, but in the beginning of the season, Houston
lost to UNLV.
Yeah, exactly. They were by far one of the worst teams in CFB after losing to
Absolutely,
UNLV.
and it kind of looks like most of the Big 12 actually is pretty solid at this point. Houston's still probably that low point, but even they don't look exactly like the pushovers. They looked like at the beginning of the season.
No one's really a pushover at this point.
No.
Kansas is the worst team in the Big 12, and they're far from it.
And they started the year ranked. I think I've seen some talk around the Big 12 saying it's, mid, but I think really what's up with the Big 12 this year is every team is actually pretty equally matched.
Yeah, we just beat each other up.
Everybody's beating each other up, and it's not like most of these teams are taking bad losses.
Yeah.
Right? You can look at Kansas probably has some of the worst losses in the Big 12, and they're at the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. Every other team has played relatively good to great. In the case of BYU, they've played great. And then in the case of like an Arizona State or a Cincinnati, who I would say have had relatively similar seasons.
And a little situational as well. Like, what goes into the ASU context? Well, we get to play Cam Rising up when he's off the rest, all right?
And rolls his ankle in the first drive of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, did he? He was always pretty bad.
That's the narrative going around as he did. We were in the student section and we didn't get a great view. But I'm going to trust everybody. My buddy watching the TV broadcast texted me and said he rolled his ankle. So I'm going to go with that.
I think we just made him look really bad.
I think we did.
But the same thing with like Jalen Daniels, like a very situational play where it's like, okay, Kansas is off a really bad losing streak and we got to capitalize on that. Yeah. It's situational because we got some really good home wins and we took advantage of situations of our opponents, of their lesser situation. Same thing with Cincinnati. They have a heartbreaker losing in Lubbock, but then they get to play UCF, and UCF didn't even have KJ Jefferson playing. They went out with their QB2 EJ, and then they benched him and then went back to Ja'Cory Brown, their QB3, and they wrote it out with him. UCF was lucky to get out of that game because they didn't have anything consistent going for their identity. So Cincinnati situationally got to take advantage of it, win that game. They snuck out of it 19-13, and they're done. They're on to the next week.
And UCF really hasn't looked that good for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, I always knew UCF. I know they came back on TCU, but I knew they weren't legit.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. So Cincinnati's best game is probably the Texas Tech loss. How ironic.
How ironic. And Arizona State has a signature win in Kenny Dillingham's tenure now. That Utah win, they were ranked 16th. They did not play like a 16th ranked team, but how much of that was Arizona State's defense?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna find out in this Cincy game, right?
Yeah, because if our offense is not healthy, your defense has to step up that much more. Yeah. And I do like the health of our defense right now. We are looking electric. We didn't have any serious injuries last Friday.
No, and I like to see, every game has a story within the game, and the story of Keith Abney in Utah's game, man, it started off a little bit rough for him. He was giving up some easy things, just easy catches, and it's like, come on, man. But guess what?
Response.
He made up for it. An excellent deflection in the back corner of the end zone to save a touchdown. That's what you need. That's making opportunistic plays. A turnover on what they tried to call back for targeting. BS. Hey, college football, stop calling targeting plays. Oh my gosh, I'm sick and tired of it, dude.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. Karma always handles it.
It's ridiculous at this point. Not every time you hit the quarterback is targeting. Whatever. But
hey, we got bailed out too because they called it targeting on us and then pulled it back.
No, I know.
And
but that was the Keith Abney interception.
Yeah. And I was like, how is he targeting if there's an O lineman in between them?
I don't know, and I went and watched the playback on my phone the next day. I'm like, Pat, how could you even? We saw it from the stands, and then the video confirmed it even more.
But again, this was always kind of like my theory. How is the Big 12 and their officiating going to make an example out of us? Yeah. Because we're the new guys in town. We're the low-hanging fruit. Cincinnati has longer Big 12 tenure than we do.
Yeah.
We're the new guys. So we're going to get some of these we're going to get some of these blatant bad calls. It's okay. Better team always comes out on top, and I like our defense against Sorsby this weekend. I am fully expecting a turnover.
Yeah, so kind of to rehash the points I made before the Utah game. If you guys didn't get to watch that episode, make sure you tune in every week because we bring good stuff. But I said that this defense isn't a defense to hold a team to few yards, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to lock you down. They're
bend don't break.
Yeah, they're a bend don't break. They're opportunistic, okay?
Yep.
And
get in the red zone. It's not a guaranteed touchdown.
It's not a guaranteed touchdown. I think 7 red zone trips for Utah and 1 touchdown, okay?
Yep. And the rest of them were picks or field goals.
And Bernard had actually a very good game.
Amazing,
you could argue that if they had just handed it off to Bernard for more plays,
had a better chance.
They maybe have a chance at winning that one.
Yeah.
He looked borderline unstoppable, but the defense held. And McCullough, he's like the prime example of that. I mean, Keyshawn Elliott out for the first half, and he comes in, hasn't gotten a start all year, and he comes out and he just balls out, man.
Caleb won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week.
Yes, and I think he's tied for second right now in interceptions in the entire Big 12. What about that, man? We could not have seen that coming, and that's why you got to watch the games, guys, right? You're never going to get the context of what actually happened in a game unless you're following the team and you're able to see that a Keyshawn Elliott is out for the first half due to targeting in the Kansas game, right? And so that's just what makes college football so much fun, and that's why you don't want to miss this Cincinnati game. Everything's stacked up against Arizona State. Early start time, backup quarterback. But guess what? I believe in Dillingham. I know you believe in Dillingham. And we're confident going into this game.
The momentum needs this win. We can't convey how much importance there is more than this week.
Yeah.
Because, guys, 6-1 right now, and being 3-1 on the Big 12, and then going into a bye week for people to get healthy and then go to Stillwater. This is legit. Like, this is the biggest game right now.
It'll be the biggest game until they play BYU, I believe.
Do you kind of remember what I said, though, where you're like, what's your loss that you're expecting? And I always said Cincinnati. It's like a trap game.
You did.
And look at us. We're going into the game with our QB2.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily a trap game if we're missing a quarterback.
And also Tech is
serious.
Tech is a good team as well. They're just as in it as we are, because if they win or if Cincinnati wins this, they're about to be 3-1 on their Big 12 slate. And anyone who has a great conference record is going to succeed. That's why right now I'm so pissed off about Iowa State, because they have such an easy Big 12 schedule to where they might not even lose 2 Big 12 games all year.
No.
They might literally sneak out of this schedule with 1 Big 12 loss. So, realistically, we don't control our destiny yet because Tech and Iowa State are undefeated. We need to find a way to get above one of those teams.
And Tech has some good wins. Cincinnati and Arizona State, 2 teams you're about to watch.
It's good that they play each other, Iowa State and Tech, but again, we need one of these guys to get to 2 losses because we don't break the tiebreaker against Tech. And then Iowa State, there probably won't be a tiebreaker because we're not playing them. But yes, we control our own destiny with BYU and Kansas State. We win those games, we don't have to worry about them. But right now, what's in front of us is Cincinnati with Jeff Sims. I really need Jeff Sims to rush for more than 50. I need him to make good decisions. Preferably don't throw an interception.
That would be great.
That is probably the deal breaker in this game.
If
Sims
turn
plays
the ball
clean
over,
football, we win this game.
Okay, I like that.
Because he'll just keep it in his hands the entire time.
Yep.
And then I like our RB committee this game. I'm not expecting a big game from Tyson and Guillory because they're just not going to be able to feed them the ball like they usually want to.
No, as long as they get over for a couple crucial plays in big moments, make winning football plays.
Yeah, we'll need yak from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we look ahead, rest of ASC's schedule, just to show how important this game is, okay? So we head to Cincinnati, right? Then we head to Stillwater, Oklahoma. We play UCF at home, which is big.
Yeah, that is a pretty
Head
big
out to Kansas State. That's going to be a tough game, man. And then at home versus BYU, that home closer. Last game at home for these Sun Devils.
This is senior night.
Senior night, we need every single fan there.
Skattebo senior night, BYU.
Oh, man.
If we win this weekend, potentially a top 10 matchup.
Yeah.
If BYU remains consistent,
yeah.
if we handle against Allen Bowman in Stillwater, and then we celebrate our Sun Devils against UCF and stop RJ Harvey, and then go to Kansas State and make Avery Johnson look like a sophomore.
Yeah.
Guys, like...
You're talking about two of the top in college football potentially in that BYU matchup.
Yup.
And then the Territorial Cup. And guess what? Beginning of the season, I wasn't so sure, but I'm pretty confident in projecting a win in that one. So
guys,
it's going to be so
U of
good.
A might potentially be fighting for a bowl game.
Arizona State might clinch a bowl game here this weekend.
Wait, we didn't even bring that up. The gravity of this win, guys, is a bowl game.
A bowl game. Arizona State playing a bowl game. If we had said that at the beginning of the season, Trev would have said, I agree, and we would have said, absolutely not.
Yeah, we will definitely clip Kai and Strider saying
No.
5-7.
We do not.
We will.
We do not need to clip
that.
that.
You know what that means.
We do not need to clip that.
But we'll clip you going to the UCF and BYU games. We'll definitely get an Osmo Pocket 3 by the BYU game.
Hopefully.
Because we need to vlog everyone. We need to ask all the fans silly questions.
Yeah.
That is going to be a one-of-a-kind experience. I am still praying that will be College Game Day because there's no other game that weekend except for Indiana, Ohio State, and why give Ohio State another game day? They just did a great game day with them, and just come down to Tempe.
Yeah,
that'd be a cool one.
Come down to Tempe, and I think that's gonna pretty much wrap us up here. It's been an absolutely fantastic show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Forks up.
Thanks, guys. Always. Forks up. Let's get another dub, and then let's stay strong through that bye week. We'll see you guys for Hollow Weekend.
And you know what? As Bill Belichick always says, on to Cincinnati.